A lot of folks who haven't been in college in a long time may be surprised to hear what their students are learning, and they're probably even more surprised if it's professing to be a Christian college.
Your book is written primarily from an intellectual perspective. What do you think are the main factors that are contributing to so many of the deconversions that we're seeing? And, many of them coming from college kids, grow up in a Christian home, and then they take an evolutionary biology class or even a New Testament class, and it just really rattles their faith. What do you think are the factors involved with that?
Yeah, I think there's so much more work to be done here. My book is sort of a solution to a problem after the fact. So I'm writing to college students after they get to college and they realize they're having a faith crisis. But we could ask a deeper question, which you're kind of hinting at here, which is, well, why do so many Christian college students have faith crises? In other words, why this sort of significantly concerning amount of deconversions taking place? I think there's a number of possible answers to that question. I hint at some in the introduction of the book. One is, I think this says a lot about the state of the American evangelical church. So we have people growing up in Christian youth groups who presumably teach them the Bible and teach them the gospel, but yet they're not really prepared to face the real world, at least intellectually. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. One is, I think a lot of churches have what you might call sort of a pietistic vision for the Christian life, which is that the most important thing in your Christian life is living like a Christian, being holy. But by the way, that's really important. I don't want to pretend that's not important. That's extremely important. But if you come out of a pietistic world, then behavior is the number one thing. But we forget that behavior is connected to beliefs, and they're actually connected to credible beliefs that actually are persuasive to people. So if you go off to college convinced I got to live a certain way, and then you get to college, you realize that you don't really have any foundation for living that way that makes any sense, then you're not going to live that way. And so what we forget is that wanting our Christian college students to live like Christians doesn't happen just by telling them to do it. It doesn't happen just by calling them to be holy. It happens by giving them a comprehensive understanding of why they believe what they believe and how it makes sense. So I think there's something missing in the training of young Christians, and honestly, adults too. Mm-hmm. It's not just that young people are missing it. You could be in a church for 40 years and miss it. So yeah. It says a lot about the church today.
It does, and that's interesting you would bring that up, because as I'm reading through your book, I'm thinking everybody needs to read this. This isn't just something that a college kid needs to read, but I think so many Christians do, because in many ways, it seems as if the college classroom has come to the home via the internet, through social media. All of the claims of people like Bart Ehrman that you may not have heard. You could go your entire life and never hear something like that, whereas today, all you have to do is just open Facebook, and you're going to probably come across something like that. And I think that there are a lot of Christian parents who might be worried about the philosophy class. They might be worried about the evolutionary biology class. But I like that your book is titled Surviving Religion 101. Maybe give Christian parents who it's been a while since they've been to college, maybe, what are students going to learn on most campuses, secular and sadly, even a lot of Christian campuses? What are they going to learn in a Religion 101 class?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of folks who haven't been in college in a long time may be surprised to hear what their students are learning, and they're probably even more surprised if it's professing to be a Christian college, which sometimes when you get down into the weeds, aren't really teaching things necessarily that different than what they might get at a secular school. So if a person takes sort of an introduction to the New Testament class, which is the kind of class I was in, they're going to hear a lot of things. They're going to hear, one, that the books of the New Testament were sort of arbitrarily chosen, probably late in the 4th or 5th century by the theological winners. They're going to hear that the books were not written by the people that have names attached to them, and that many of them are actually forgeries and what we call pseudonymous works. They're going to hear that it's historically unreliable and fabricated. They're going to hear that it's internally contradictory. They're going to hear that it's been poorly transmitted. And then here's the new one, and I try to cover this in the book. They will also hear that the content of the Bible, or the New Testament or Old Testament, whatever it happens to be, is actually very morally offensive too. And this is the newer argument today. Even back when I was in college, it took a lot of gumption to argue against the Bible morally.
Yeah.
You may not think it was historically credible, but when it came to morals, you sort of just admitted, okay, it's the good book, and it was more. The response was more, don't push your religion on me. But now it's almost reverse. It's the Bible that's the recipient of moral outrage.
Yeah.
And so now we've got a new moral majority in our country. We have a new group of fundamentalists in our country. It's just they're not Christians anymore.
Yeah.